But before I get to their response to Wednesday, I want to talk about our response to Wednesday. Because, you know, what you say is true, Mark, that that in a certain sense, this isn't anything new. That this is sort of, you know, when we look at the first 100 or so years of our country, this was pretty much the status quo. This kind of like just raucous behavior was pretty much part of the status quo. However, that said, largely post World War II, we have enjoyed a new decorum.
Yeah.
Right. And that decorum has been really getting smashed to splinters over the last, well, however long, you know, you want to measure. We can say over the last 4 years, over the last 20, since Gingrich, you know, et cetera. But it's been on this course where that decorum is constantly eroding, right? All of these sort of gentlemanly agreements and sort of winks and handshakes, those don't really matter as much anymore. And everyone, both political parties are in a certain sense being driven more and more towards political opportunism. Right. So here's sort of where we're at today. And we're seeing the disintegration of that decorum. What's interesting to me is I really felt that hard when I was watching all of this transpiring last Wednesday. It's amazing when I see something like that happen, how much it snaps me into sort of my conservative stances. Right. I feel like, Jesus, what an undignified response. What, I mean, something sacred is being defiled here. This is, you know, so, I mean, I had a full spectrum of responses that went like from magenta to red to amber to orange to green, and hopefully popped out the other side into sort of teal and turquoise. And for me, it was just, you know, like on that magenta level, it was just this, defiling of sacred symbols, right? There's a big part of me that appreciates the sacred symbology that something like the Capitol building represents, right? And then there was sort of well, and let me just say that symbolism, I see that symbolism as being such an incredibly important part of this thing that we call American exceptionalism. What makes us exceptional is the fact that we are a country that's bonded not by common ethnicity or common religion or anything like that. We're a noospheric nation, and these symbols that exist at the very core of our nation are what keeps that alive in a certain sense. So these are living symbols. And, you know, just like when we watched the two towers coming down in 9/11, that was a symbolic attack as much as it was an actual brutal physical attack that cost so many lives. The reason why it hurt so much was also because of sort of the symbolism that was contained in there. So that, you know, that hit me on a magenta level. On a red level, I mean, I was just like, why isn't anyone shooting these fuckers? Right? There was just this unfiltered red rage that started to come through. And then the amber level, yeah, there was this like feeling of like, you know, respect and decorum and honor and dignity are so freaking important to this country. They're so important in terms of how we relate to each other. And I see that being violated right now by a bunch of fucking animals. Right. And so there was an amber rage that came online. And then there was an orange sort of, you know, I can feel my orange sort of status seeking kind of judgmentalism. Like, you know, these guys are just such fucking idiots. Oh God, how did, you know, Rome is being invaded by barbarians, except this time the barbarians came from within and not from without. And shit, man. And then I had a green response. It's like, well, you know, these people feel like they're doing what's right. If a bunch of liberals started storming the castle because they were about to ban abortion or whatever, I might feel somewhat differently about it. And, you know, I can sort of relativize these things a little bit. And then I start popping out into teal and turquoise. And I think that's where sort of the landscape gets a little bit more interesting, because I start sort of reflecting, like, where is this anger coming from? What am I actually mad at, right? Do I really want these people to get shot by, you know, Capitol Police and Secret Service right now? No, I don't want that. I'm not even really angry at these people. I think they're misled. I think a lot of them are brainwashed, but I can't be angry at them because they think they're doing what's right. They think they're doing their patriotic duty. They honestly believe that this election has been completely stolen from them and they're doing what they think is right. I can have compassion for that. I can even allow a certain amount of forgiveness for that. What I don't have compassion for and what I don't have forgiveness for is the structures of reality that allowed so many people to fall into this kind of thinking in the first place. So then that completely sort of reorients my rage and kind of cools it a little bit with, you know, just a dose of forgiveness that these people honestly did feel like they were doing what was morally right to do. I think it was wrong. I think the book needs to be thrown at them. I think an example needs to be made out of them. I think people need to get thrown in jail. Any faces that we recognize, I think all of that needs to happen too, right?
Yeah.
But I can still sort of find a place of forgiveness and maybe even to some degree understanding. I understand the confusion is sort of where it goes for me. So that was my, you know, again, I'm still metabolizing this right now. So I'm feeling, as I'm talking, I'm feeling into what's coming up for me. And if we had the same conversation a week from now, this might be a little bit more, I guess, fully formed for me. But that was sort of a hint at my full spectrum response to all this. And I'm curious, you know, what you experienced as watching this unfold.
I just want to say that was a beautiful developmental reflection on your Wednesday,
No.
and I really appreciate it, and it really speaks to your process and healthy ability to reflect on where you're at in your center of gravity, in your shadow, and your light. And so, kudos, brother.
I really appreciate it, man. Thank you. No, seriously, thank you. You know, I think the only thing I'll add in there is I think it's important for all of us to remember that so many of our political views and philosophies and ideologies and all that is purely an accident of birth. It really is. You were born at a certain place at a certain time, surrounded by certain people that informed your own views, and you know, there's a certain almost inescapable quality to that, where, you know, hey, I was kind of in a way destined to have the views that I have today. So I can find some understanding for people who were born in different life conditions and therefore see the world differently. And I think that's an important thing for everyone, no matter what side of the political aisle you happen to be on, for us to remember, while still holding people accountable for being fuck ups when they're being fuck ups.
Yeah.
So thank you. I want to hear your response now.
Well, it's just funny you said that, because I can vividly remember when I was a public defender, which is almost, 20 years ago, 17 years ago, somewhere in there. And I would be with my clients, and I would literally like listen to their story, and it was a very powerful exercise. It was kind of like Tonglen Buddhist practice of like taking in the suffering of another. But I would be like, there, but by the grace of God go I. Like listening to that story, I could completely see myself, if I was in their shoes, having my life play out exactly like this is played out. Like, so it's not that they're not responsible for their actions, as you just eloquently described, but I could see how they got here, and so yes, I feel blessed on so many levels to have the opportunity to be in this moment in time with you and our audience, to be able to kind of share whatever insights that the universe has allowed me to share at this time with you. So, all right. So my answer is like, well, I from the magenta kind of purple expression of the world, I have these ideals of the United States, this kind of magical vision of who we are and our exceptionalism, and what makes us that. And obviously there's some magical thinking there, because it's not all true, but there are some unique pieces. And I was hurt and mad that knowing that this is being broadcast around the world, that American exceptional vision is just getting trashed, as it's really gotten trashed in the last 4 years. As the French mayor said on Twitter the night Biden was declared the winner, welcome back America, like that was just like, that said it all, right, in a way. So I was like, I was hurt, I was hurt for that American exceptional vision that I hold, softly, with recognition of other problems like Native Americans
Mm-hmm.
and treatment of our African American community and so on. And then the red part was like, get those bastards, like, they're bastards, like these ignorant mofos, um, get a piece of them, as my message feed is just blowing up with friends like, where the hell are the police, and or like, who's gonna bust them up,
Which
and
is a whole other conversation, by the way.
yeah, which is a whole nother conversation. And then and then I mean, then like the amber, law and order, like how this can happen, which is a part of that discussion. Like, where are our police, and where are our National Guard, and how these sacred symbols aren't being protected, um, you know, and just the concern of that, kind of like that, the religion of being an American, right? Like, God bless America, like all of that, like just getting trashed, and I'm upset, and I'm pissed about it on that front, and from the orange kind of perspective of kind of appreciating, I guess, the status as you described, is just kind of, I don't think I had a really strong orange reaction.
For me, the embarrassment, actually, and I'm glad you named the embarrassment. The embarrassment was a big part of my orange reaction. Just
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I guess that was maybe I mentioned that earlier
mm-hmm.
in a different color level, but yeah, I mean, that would be it. It was just like another moment in time.
Mm-hmm. Our status is now
Also,
diminished.
yeah, but like part of me too was like, good, like,
That's the
film it,
dream. Yeah.
I was like very happy that that was all documented, and that it was going to be clear that it wasn't Antifa. I mean, I don't even care. Like, I'm going to come down. I hope people by the end of this have got a sense that I don't really have a lot of tolerance for any of the bullshit on either side. That, if it was that, great, and get after them, but it wasn't.
It wasn't.
It was folks that were lock and barreled Trumpers, that extreme Trumpers, not folks that saw Trump giving them a better life, but the outraged population, and so yeah, and then yes, Green could find, can relativize this and rationalize this, and also find forgiveness, and or create some kind of like learning circle, restorative justice system where we can find some peace, and all of that. So yeah, I mean, I could see that, and as I listened to the folks that were being interviewed, and I tried to put myself in their shoes and see things from that way, from the yellow or second tier turquoise perspective. I'm looking at log jams in the first tier, and seeing where we are getting blocked,
Yep.
and how we can create a healthy conveyor belt to higher stages of awareness. How can we create healthy expressions for each stage of awareness that people are at? Because this is really unhealthy. How do we work? I'm trying to problem solve,
Yep.
from that perspective, and see what we can do, so that the left and the right aren't so at each other's throats, so that there is some kind of commonality to what we read and or interpret, that allows us to break out of this? How do we, trying to figure out how do we deal with cults? Because this is a cult.
Yeah.
This is a totally, you know, completely clear cult. I mean, if you watch,
QAnon certainly is.
but I mean, did you see the people following Lindsey Graham? And I mean, again, a complete hypocrite politician, but traitor, following Mitt Romney in the airport, screaming, the ripping down in Virginia of the Pence name, the folks that want his head, across. I mean, like, this is.
Mark, can you think of any other presidency where the voters of a particular candidate continue to wear the name of that candidate on all of their clothes for the entirety of their presidency?
Yeah.
I can't think, like, I don't see. There were a lot of Obama shirts sold, but people didn't like wear an Obama hat every day as like a statement of identity, for example. It was more
Right.
like, I got nothing else clean right now, so I'll wear my Obama shirt. You know what I mean? It's like there's
Right.
always political swag, but I've never seen people identify so strongly with a particular leader, right? I mean, it really does have those like cult of personality kind of qualities to it.
Big time. And but see, that's what he did well, was that he was able to exploit the alienation and allow them to find identity in something what they perceived as greater than themselves, someone that really heard them, understood them, and was unabashedly their supporters and believers, when at a time when they feel marginalized, made fun of, and not a part of the process. And so I am this. I am the basket of deplorables, and
Oh, it's
I
beautiful.
and because I feel identified, damn the torpedoes with reality. I'm going to go down this rabbit hole, and because I feel cared for, loved, and that's the tragedy of it all, is he doesn't give a shit about you, and he never did, and he never will, because he's unfortunately not capable.
Oh, dude, it's
You
such an
know, and
important point.
it's
Yeah.
and I mean, that's the other part, is he's mentally ill. I believe. I feel that. I'm not a doctor or I can't diagnose, but for all that I can tell, at least my heart does go out to him, because he doesn't have anybody holding him to account to help him grow, and it's become really, he's become very unstable, which maybe leads to, what do you do about it, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. No, that's exactly right. And that's going to be a big conversation we're about to have. But I just want to double click on a point that you made,
Yeah.
um, which I think you're completely right to tune into the fact that these identities, these political identities, the reason why they emerged is because there was a vacuum already in place. There was a vacuum of, in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's a vacuum of belongingness.
Yeah.
And guess what? This quote unquote cult gave people a greater sense of belongingness and place that they haven't been able to find anywhere else in this society. Nowhere else in this society were they able to find that. And that to me shows just another one of these absolutely critical fractures in our foundations as a society, that we have actually allowed. And I've got a whole spiel for this, right? I mean, you can pull my string and I'll start talking about, the public sphere versus the private sphere, and how neoliberalism has caused us to abandon the private sphere, and how that has resulted in this abandonment of belongingness needs themselves. And we can have that conversation if you want to, but it's clear that we are at a very, very pivotal moment in American history right now, where we're starting to see some of the real externalities, the real sort of toxic byproducts of these giant economic strata and structures and systems that we've been participating in for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
This is where all roads have, lead here, where we are right now. There was no other path to take based on the shape of our reality over the last 40 years. Okay, so now we've arrived. Now what the fuck do we do about it? Well, big tech has their own idea of what to do about it, which is to simply ban the voices that they don't want on their platforms. And so now we can have a conversation about that, because this is such a critical point right now. Such a critical point. So Facebook and Twitter just banned Donald Trump.